G'day guys, how's it going? I'm Azza Whitnell, this is Azza Sport. Now first of all, I'd like to apologise for being away. I've had an awful lot going on, and in terms of film-wise and just life in general, but I am now back, and it is time to crack on with the football reviews. Kicking off, of course, with week 13 of the Premier League. Let's face it, this weekend was crazy for one particular game, and that was Swansea versus Crystal Palace. 5-4 to Swansea it ended. Most of the goals coming in the last 20 minutes. Talk about value for money. This game was amazing. And with Swansea 3-1 up, Palace turned it around in the last 20 minutes to be leading 4-3 going into stoppage time, only for Swansea to then turn the game on its head, scoring 2 goals in injury time to win it 5-4. And it was Bob Bradley's first win as Swansea manager, one that he is never going to forget, regardless of whether he's there for a long time or there for a short time, depending on obviously how well they do throughout the rest of the season. But what a way to get your first win. Now for me, there's 2 things this game taught us. One, the Premier League is the best league in the world, because when you look at where the 2 teams are, the fact that Swansea going into the game were bottom of the Premier League, Palace just above the relegation zone, to produce a game like 5-4, you're not going to see that anywhere else. So for me, that one thing was a true spectacle as to why the Premier League is so awesome as a league. Secondly, it also proved why these 2 teams are fighting to survive in the Premier League and, close to being relegated. I know that we're only in week 13, but you've got to look at how they're playing. Palace came into the game. This was their 6th straight defeat. I think that pretty much sums it up. They are in a relegation battle at the moment. Swansea obviously rooted to the bottom of the Premier League going into it. Again, they're in a relegation battle. But, the defending in this game was utterly awful. So something has got to change there if they are going to get out of the situations that they're in. But the win did lift Swansea off of the bottom, so that's a positive. And maybe this could act as a crazy springboard for them, now that Bob Bradley's finally got his first win as their manager, to maybe push on throughout the rest of the season. So we'll have to watch the space and see what happens there. Elsewhere, Tottenham were beaten for the first time in the Premier League this season by Chelsea. Of all the teams that you guys didn't want to lose to, I'm sure Chelsea were the team you didn't want to lose to. Saturday was an absolutely crazy day in the Premier League, because the leader of the Premier League changed 3 times. Started off with Manchester City after they beat Burnley 2-1 away. Wasn't the best performance from City, but you know what they say, champions are the teams that don't play very well but still win. So who knows? City could be your year, even though at the moment you're not particularly playing well, let's be honest. Then it changed after Liverpool then won at 3 o'clock. They blew Sunderland's wall down eventually, getting a 2-0 win at Anfield. I want to say Sunderland made it tough for them, but they didn't really, let's face it. It was a bit of a training match, and on another day, Liverpool could have had 6, but it just wouldn't quite go in. It was a weird atmosphere. I think Liverpool went into it a bit complacent. You could see that with the way Klopp was acting on the sidelines. Turning around, having to go at the crowd, trying to G them up a little bit. In the end, it worked, because obviously they scored the 2 fairly late goals. Obviously Milner's was in stoppage time, but Divock Origi scored with 15-20 minutes to go. So, it did work, and that was great. And then obviously we came to Chelsea-Tottenham. But you've got to say, in the first half, it only looked like there was one team in the game. Tottenham were phenomenal. Chelsea, they just weren't awake. It was weird. For a team that doesn't play in Europe, they'd almost come into the game complacent. But that certainly changed. Eriksen gave Tottenham the lead with a fantastic left-footed strike, and it was all Tottenham deserved. However, they didn't take the other chances they created. Not that there were really any clear-cut ones, but for the amount of play they had, they didn't create anything hardcore in terms of amazing chances. And Chelsea punished them for it. Pedro with an absolute belter on the right on half-time, which really brought Chelsea back into the game. G'd them up. At half-time, you could clearly see Conte got stuck into them a little bit as well. Came out in the second half, they were a different team. And Victor Moses, the surprise package of Chelsea's season, coming up with the winner. He's been phenomenal. He's a player that I've always rated. And it's great to see him doing so well in the Chelsea side. And by the sounds of things, now Chelsea have opened up contract talks, because his performances for them have already got Barcelona targeting him. So that's why Chelsea are now going to open up contract negotiations with Victor Moses, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So crazy day on Saturday, seeing the league leaders change 3 times. Chelsea now sit top of the Premier League. Arsenal picked up a win on Sunday, again without playing particularly well. You got to feel sorry for Olivier Giroud, just because people obviously at the moment where he is playing well, either scoring or assisting, how's he not starting? How's he not starting? And then obviously Alexis Sanchez pops up with 2 more goals, and you're like, that's why he's not starting. Because obviously they've got Sanchez, so you've got to feel a little bit for Giroud because, I mean, Sanchez, he's a quality player, and he just can't quite get in the starting lineup, but he's having one hell of an impact coming on as a sub. I mean, we go from the top 4, and now it is slowly starting to break away. I mean, Tottenham are 5th, they're 4 points off the top 4 now, but it could be an awful lot worse. It could be Manchester United, who are 11 points off of top spot after Jose Mourinho bottled it at Old Trafford. Get it? Yeah, Mourinho was sent to the stands after kicking a water bottle, after, really kicking off at the fact that Paul Pogba had been booked for diving. From his angle, it may not have looked like a dive. Obviously, in the replays, it looked pretty bad, to say the least. So that's something that we don't want to see in the game. So I'm pleased Pogba was booked for that. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, Man United aren't actually playing badly. That's the thing. They are unlucky, you've got to say. On another day against West Ham, I mean, don't get me wrong, West Ham had their chances, but for the majority of the game, United were in control. Against West Ham, Stoke, Burnley, other games, even Arsenal, they should have won, and they could have won. But it's just not quite happening for them. But you do wonder, it's only a matter of time before someone plays them and United just tear them to shreds. So, yeah, there's a beast waiting to wake up there somewhere, but it's just not quite happening. But at the moment, United are 8 points off the top 4 alone. So you got to say, really, from Manchester United's perspective, all they can aim for at the moment is top 4, because you just can't. Surely 11 points is just too much of a gap, even only 13 weeks into the Premier League, and it hasn't been the start Jose Mourinho would have wanted. I mean, after 13 games, he's got 2 points less as Manchester United manager than what David Moyes and Louis van Gaal had. He's got 20. They both got 22 points after their opening 13 games. So not the start Jose Mourinho would have wanted, but a very good point for West Ham, let's face it. Again, you got to wonder, does he know his best team? And with the way that he's changing things, no. I mean, when you look at the stats, there are 2 players that stand out over anyone else in that Man United team. Michael Carrick is one. Man United have won every single game that he has played this season. He has to start, and yet he didn't against West Ham. The other player is Juan Mata. Now, obviously, Mata played at the weekend, and again, played pretty well. But you look at the stats for him, I mean, he's been involved in more goals than any other Premier League midfielder since the 2011-2012 season, which is fantastic. 42 goals, 43 assists. And Man United have, it's something like out of a possible 15 points, United have got 13 or 14 when he's played, and out of a possible 15 points when he hasn't played, they've picked up 2. That kind of tells you everything you need to know about Mata. I'm pretty sure that's in all competitions. So, Europa League, Premier League, all that lot. But that just shows you how important those 2 players alone are to him. So those 2 players in the midfield surely have to start. I think you can see where he needs to build his midfield, but at the moment, he's clearly still got a lot on his mind, and he's still not quite the same Jose that we're used to in that sense. I mean, saying that, it could be even worse than what Manchester United are in at the moment. You could be Leicester. What is going on there? Leicester have the same amount of points in the Premier League as they do in the Champions League this season. And don't get me wrong, they've been phenomenal in the Champions League, but wow. This has not been the Premier League defence they would have wanted. Drawing 2-2 at home to Middlesbrough, a game that surely a lot of people going into the weekend would have thought they would have won. But it's just not happening for them. And I think, one fact that shows how crazy it is there is that when you look at how amazing Mahrez and Vardy were together last year, Mahrez has only passed it to Vardy once since September the 17th, which is absolutely crazy. Over 2 months now. So something's got to change there. So, yeah, that pretty much sums up all of the major talking points from this weekend's Premier League. Some real dramatic games going on at the top and at the bottom. And at the moment, it's very tight to call which way it's going to go. So I think it's going to be a few more weeks before we really, really see who could really push for that title. Because at the moment, it's all good while, the big teams aren't necessarily playing each other. But hey, next weekend is Manchester City-Chelsea, so that's where we're going to learn a lot of lessons. But yeah, that pretty much sums up all of the weekend's Premier League action. Let me know in the comments below, what are your major talking points from the Premier League weekend? As always, I'm Asa Whitnell, and I will see you guys again soon.